Hey, hi everyone. This is Ranmay Rath, your host for tonight's show is Coffee with Experts. Today we have Creative Design. He's a partner and chief marketing officer, the way he wants to be introduced. So thank you, Chad, for taking our time for the show today.
Oh, it's great to be here. I'm excited to talk about everything we're going to talk about.
Sure. So Chad, before we kind of move on, I request you to introduce yourself to our audiences and you've done so far in the initial space, and from there on we take it forward.
Yeah. So I am Chad Treadway with Q Creative Design. I am Chief Marketing Officer slash partner with the agency. So essentially, my role is I do sales and marketing. So if you're familiar with HubSpot and Dan Tyre, he sells sales and marketing should be aligned. A lot of times, sales is on one side of the building and marketing is on the other side, and they don't talk. So my goal is to make sure that I bring sales and marketing together with our clients. I deal a lot with small businesses who they wear a lot of hats. So they're the entrepreneur, they're the manager, and they're also the technician. And sales and marketing sometimes is the last thing on their mind. They're good at doing what they do, but they need help with the selling process or they need help with the marketing process. And that's where I come in and help them.
Great. Yeah, we have often seen that marketing and sales they operate in silos. That is where it kind of becomes very less productive than it's what should be the case. Yeah, a very good point raised there. Talking about local businesses, what are some of the common mistakes that small businesses make when it comes to the marketing strategy? And how can they avoid them? If you can really throw some light on that.
Probably the biggest thing I see is a lack of a strategy. And then probably is I have a insert social media profile here, and that is my website. That is not a website. I'm going to quote Joe Polizzi here. He coined a, well, I don't know if he coined a phrase, but he uses a lot. That's rented land. So social media is great. I'm not discounting social media at all. It's good if that's all you can afford, but that is a page on Facebook's website. It is not your website whatsoever. They several years ago, Facebook came in and moved the road, so to speak, and it's much more of a pay to play kind of thing. So I tell people, I'm like, yeah, you've got a Facebook page and everything, and that's all well and good, but you need somewhere to drive that traffic back to some place that you own. Like typically use the analogy of I have two buildings here. You can rent this building or you can own this building. It's going to cost you the exact same. Which would you rather do? Oh, I would rather own the building. Of course you would. So why are you renting your building from Facebook when you can own yours? And they're like, oh, that makes sense.
Absolutely. Lack of strategy is one of the
Yes.
new businesses. So they do. Right. And talking about small businesses and their competition, right? It is more or less local competition, very stiff ones at times. So, according to you, how can a small business stand out from their competitors in such a crowded market? And what are some of the creative tactics that they can use to do?
Yeah, obviously, I am a digital marketing agency, so I'm not always going to tell you your website's what you own. Spend if you're going to spend money, spend it there. The paid advertising is great, but you're just lining the coffers of Google when you pump money into pay per click and things like that. And I'm not discounting pay per click. It's great if you need that kind of initial jolt, shot in the arm kind of thing. I much prefer the content marketing kind of style. I jokingly tell people, and it always works really well if they have children. It's just like very much like having a child. You sign this contract in this flurry of emotion, and then it's like a month later, you're like, oh God, what did I do? Or what did we do kind of thing. And then 6 to 9 months later, I deliver this little bundle of joy, which is all your sales and leads that come in. With the small businesses I deal with, it may be a solopreneur or they may have 3 to 5 employees. One of the larger small businesses I have, he's got probably about 60 employees total. He's a pest control company. So he's probably the higher end of the spectrum as far as employee count that I have. And he has a massive territory he covers. But what we've done, like with him, because he does cover a lot of the rural area where I'm at, is we've incorporated what I call geographic landing pages. Some people may call them a city page or a local landing page, something like that. Essentially, it talks about a service and a geographic location. We can use like a plumber, for example. So it may be home replumbing, whatever city you're in. And I've seen that work really well for my rural clients. And if you're And I've actually seen it work well in more metropolitan areas as well. Google typically wants if you're a service area business, they typically want like a hour radius kind of thing where talking in the green room, when I leave this meeting, I'm getting ready to drive 45 minutes to go to another meeting. And it's nothing for us in a rural area to drive 30, 45 minutes just to get to where we need to go. I know people that they drive an hour to work and they live in the same county.
Great. And you also touched upon the content piece, right? Can you please elaborate on what role does the content creation and optimization play in a small business SEO strategy, and how can they create content that is both engaging and optimized for search engines at the same time?
So I'm going to reference a book, They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. If no one's ever heard of him, they need to look him up. If you've never read the book, I highly recommend it. It's the one that helped turn my marketing career around. And I read his book and then I went and read, what's his name? He wrote Purple Cow. I like read Purple Cow after I read They Ask You Answer. I'm just like, yeah, you're saying the same thing. It's just a much more complicated way. But I come from blue collar roots. If you can explain it to me in a blue collar, simple kind of way, that's where my mind goes. So I highly recommend it. So basically, with what he says in the book is ask whatever your questions you're getting asked, you answer those questions on your website. So he was a pool guy. So every question he had about a fiberglass pool, he answered on the website. There's all kinds of other layers that you can do in there. You can do best of lists, you can do comparisons, things like that. That's one of the things that, we'll use my pest control client. So one of their most visited pages is what are like the X number of signs of snakes around my home? Like he's getting all kinds of traffic over it. And it's nationwide traffic, and he has this huge network of people and everything. So when he gets a lead that's in Alabama or whatever, he sends it to his friend down in Alabama that's covering that area. But he's just like, why am I getting all this? I'm just like, that's what we want because you're showing up in Google for those. So if you're showing up nationwide, you're showing up locally. And he just kind of looked
Right.
at me and grinned and said, okay.
I see. When we talk about content, how do you go about identifying the most relevant keywords for getting business? Can take an example of one of your clients.
Yeah.
How do you go about those relevant keywords?
Yeah, well, we used to use Moz and then we switched to SEMrush. Obviously, any of the tools out there, there's Ahrefs, SpyFu, Moz. All of them are good products. But we'll look at what's the top keywords that people are looking for according to the softwares and all the stats and everything. And then we start building our content plan around it. And with our clients, we usually do a 12-month content plan to really
Okay.
figure out how much they need. I may go in and if they might have a company that it may be a startup and they're going up against a company that's been in business for 120 years. But behind them, they have a crappy website and they're not doing any kind of content. It's just like, here we are. I'm running off my reputation and my name in the community. And then I'm able to come in and do a blog and a landing page. And next thing you know, in 9 months, you're outranking them for everything and you're taking their lunch money and they've been in business for 120 years. And then it's just, what are you doing to get all these leads? And it's my website guy, which I hate when they just say that I'm their website guy. But you know what? If they're signing the check, they call me whatever they want.
Right. Yeah. Talking about GMV, how can small businesses effectively optimize the Google My Business listing in order to drive more traffic?
Yeah. So Google changed the name of it because Google likes to change the names of everything. So it's the Google Business Profile. It doesn't really roll off the tongue quite as well, but I like to tell people that the Google Business Profile was when they shuttered Google Plus because nobody used it unless you were a Google employee. They basically shuttered it and then turned it back around and said, okay, we're going to market this to businesses. And that's how you show up I call it the 3-pack. I've heard it called the local pack, different things. So having a Google profile, which is usually, if you're looking on the desktop, it's over on the right side. That is where everything is. And if Google is the gateway to the internet, that is your digital front door. Especially if you're a service area business, you have to have a Google profile. If you are a retail business, which I don't deal with a lot of retail businesses, but if you have a brick and mortar retail business, you've got to have that. If you're a restaurant, you need to have it. Honestly, if you are a business that is allowed to have one, there's no need not to have one. And it's not hard to do, but a
Mhm.
lot of people, they'll do it, but they don't do it to the level they need to. Like they do the bare minimum and they don't go in
Mhm.
and optimize it. Like I have a client and a friend, she's a real estate photographer and she can go in and do the 3D renders and everything, and she can actually upload it directly to Google. I'm working with a
Mhm.
client right now, and that's one of the things we're going to do. We're going to have her come in and scan their offices, and it's a massage therapy and that stuff. So they're going to come in and scan the rooms and show all that stuff. This way, when someone comes to it, if they want to go through and take a tour of the building and feel more comfortable before they go in, they can. That's one of the big things that I like. And honestly, just driving people to get reviews. Like we're agency partner with a company that will help you solicit reviews. And that's one of the things too, a lot of people will do is they'll get reviews, but then they'll want to try to, I don't want to say bribe, but that's the word that comes to mind. They're like, they want to incentivize getting a review. So they're like, I'll give you XYZ if you'll go leave me a Google review. If you're getting something, you're more likely to leave a positive review, which is actually against every one of the review companies' terms of service. It doesn't matter if it's TripAdvisor, Yelp, Google, all of them. But that's one of the things that I've seen work really well is getting a lot of good reviews. And I'll always have to have this conversation. I'm like, okay, you need to go get reviews. But the thing is, you can't just go get like this influx of reviews and then sit on them. You've got to respond to them, A, and then B, you can't wait like another quarter or another 2 or 3 months or whatever it is, or another year, and then try to go get them again because you
Mhm.
need to consistently do it. Google
Right.
loves consistency. And that circles back around to that content thing I failed to mention. So anytime that you can be consistent. So if you're doing blogging, even if it's just one blog a month, you just keep chipping away at it because I'm had a lot of clients that say, "Oh, we're going to blog, we're going to do this, we're going to do that." And then you go back 3 months later and they've wrote 3 blogs, and you go back another 3 months and the 3 blogs are still up there because they got busy. And I've went in
Right.
and talked to clients and they've done all this stuff and everything. And then they get all the leads and get busy and everything. And then they stop and then they get unbusy again. And then they go back and do it again.
Yeah, talking about reviews as well, what we have seen out of our experience with the clients, it has to be a more organic process and a continuous one, like you mentioned. And they have these responses, even if it is a good review, bad feedback, all of them gets those standardized responses. So that kind of has an impact. And do you guys use any software? How do you go about generating those reviews? What is your process at Cube Creatives?
If we have a client that utilizes the software, we tell them definitely go in and try to respond to the reviews and make it as human as possible because that's the key.
Yeah.
As smart as Google is, it's only getting smarter, but it'll never be as smart as the human side of it. So if you can go in and respond as a human, that's always better. If you can't, I have a client, he's an auto mechanic and his parking lot stays full. He is literally in an old gas station with 2 bays and another little metal building beside it. Now he doesn't have time to go in and respond to reviews, but now he gets reviews all the time. And I even like to encourage him to get more reviews. I printed a sheet with a QR code that would direct them to the Google thing. I said, put this at your checkout, like tape it down and just, hey, would you go leave me a review? Just scan the code there, kind of thing. And he always usually gets good reviews. And if he gets a bad review, it's usually because he didn't get to somebody's vehicle soon enough. And I'm like, how do I go combat that? Because it just says that you're that good that you're too busy to get to this person's car.
Talking about the reviews, online reputation management is also one important aspect of it. Yeah. How do you go about handling that piece for your customers?
So you said like the online optimization.
Online reputation.
Oh, online.
Yeah.
So there again, it's just like we typically use the software. Like I said, we're agency partner with a company called Bird Eye. It helps us monitor that because I don't know how any small business could really do it on their own unless you had a single person and they were doing all of it. And then even
Right.
then, I don't know that they could monitor everything out there on the web. If you get a review, like Google will email you or whatever, and I have Been sitting in my armchair on a Saturday night and saw my phone like blink up, and I had a client who got a bad review, and I was like, "That's odd." So I text him. I was like, "Did you know you got a bad review?" And I took a screenshot or whatever. He called the guy. He was like, What's up with this bad review?" Called him right then and directly addressed the issue offline. And then the guy went back and raised the stars on it or whatnot. But it's one of those things that I rely on the automated process for somebody like that because they just don't want to go to the expense of having it constantly monitored. And bad review come through like that, I'll let them know. Sometimes I might wait till, like, if it was a Saturday night on other clients, I might wait till Monday or whatever. But it's one of those things that it's definitely using some kind of AI automation, that kind of thing, or use the current 2023 buzzword to monitor it for you is going to be the best way. But it's also being there to take the time to respond to the review. So it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. Like, you constantly have to be vigilant.
Mhm.
If you're going to let automation handle it, you still have to watch to make sure that you're dealing
Yeah,
with it. So if you get a bad review on Yelp, then you need to go handle that there, because a lot of times if somebody's mad, they'll go leave a review everywhere they can.
absolutely. Absolutely. And talking about engaging or creating engaging social media content, what are some of the best practices that you follow for creating engaging social media content that resonates with the real audience for the masses out there?
Yeah. So there again, take what all the content that you're actually developing on your website,
Mhm.
break that up into little bite-sized chunks, and then feed that out to social media. The main thing I tell clients with social media is a lot of people think of it as, to go back to a traditional kind of thing like a newspaper ad or a magazine ad or whatever, they think they can just sell out there. And I'm like, if you sell, you're going to get turned off. You've got to keep the human side of it and show that human interest side. And that's harder for some people. And also, unfortunately, I'll work with a lot of service trades and things, and somebody will do something stupid over the weekend and then get in trouble. And then you got them their photo or their image plastered all over your social media, and you've got to go pull it off. So they're more hesitant to put that out there. So I tell them, okay, if you don't want to put their face, just gets back of heads. Before I came to Cube Creative, I worked at a community college, and instead of having to get waivers from students and things, we just always made sure we got backs of heads, because we had
Mhm.
a basic law enforcement, program in there too. And some of these people that went through that program, they may be undercover narcotics officers or something, or it may go on up to like state level or federal level law enforcement agencies and everything. And you do not want their photo out there through a basic law enforcement program. So,
With you. And I'm not sure that our audience would have benefited a lot in terms of the insights which you have shared on the show tonight. And thank you so much for taking out time. And I will definitely try and get you on for another episode on local SEO strategy at large. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for taking out time for the show tonight. I really appreciate it.
y'all, you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Jack.